one interesting thing that I see, which is almost a bit of a contradiction or paradox, that's kind of part of how eBot 7 kind of positions our solution, is that we kind of, one of our big appeals is that you don't need to be that technical to onboard with our product. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we have like almost what I would call like bare metal customization abilities, where you can go in and kind of apply raw CSS, raw JavaScript, and you can get a really deep level of customization that honestly I don't see a lot of other platforms offer.
So welcome to this next episode of eBot 7 Hangouts. Today I have the pleasure to interview Matthew, one of our software engineers in the PX team. Hi, Matthew.
Hello, this episode is brought to us by Squarespace. Squarespace, build a great website for design.
Stop.
No, we're not sponsored?
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that today. But I have a first question for you. So I believe you were one of the first employees at eBot 7. What is your position now, and why did you decide to join eBot 7 back then?
Sure, okay. I joined eBot 7. We had about they said they had 10 to 50 people. They were definitely counting the cleaning lady. Nowadays I'm the tech lead on the integrations team, which I don't know, maybe we'll get into what that means. As far as why I joined back then, I was in a job at a mid-sized IT company, 18,000 people, and you just kind of, your role was just like a little box, and you kind of stay in there and do your thing. And then I got kind of bored there. And so I was looking for something a little bit more startup-y, and it doesn't get much more startup-y than 10 people in a co-working space. I moved to Munich and I've been here ever since.
Nice, great story. And maybe to explain a little bit more what you're doing in your daily task, do you have any examples, how does a normal working day for you look like?
Sure, yeah, it's 90% going on people's podcasts, and then the other 10%. I do mostly solution design these days, so I think the kind of natural arc, it seems, for a lot of developers is to kind of oddly do less and less coding and more stuff related to coding, if you know what I mean. So a lot of my time is spent sort of evaluating different sort of customer problems and feature requests and bug reports and figuring out, hey, here's how we can kind of solve this, write down enough stuff, do enough testing that you can kind of get something nice and concrete and pass it along to a developer to kind of go implement. So a fair bit of my time is spent on that kind of thing. I tried to make time to kind of actually write code, because I think that it makes a difference when you are, designing kind of solutions from a perspective of this is how they'll actually write the code versus some sort of abstract idea of, oh yeah, code happens somehow. So I try to get as much actual coding in as possible, but I think that's slowly getting less and less over time.
Nice. And as a tech lead, how do you assure software quality?
Oh boy. So for anyone who doesn't realize, we send these questions out in advance. I saw this one and I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a whole thing to answer. Because I think there's a lot of different kind of facets to, what you might mean by software quality. I think there's the kind of customer perspective of it's fast and there's no bugs that I can find, and so I think, there's a whole slew of things you can do to assure that kind of thing. But then I think there's a sort of internal perspective of software quality where it's sure, maybe it works, but underneath, if something is unmaintainable or unreadable or, hard to debug, then, is that high quality? But I think even though there's all these sort of different facets to it, the kind of main thing that I've kind of grown into over time is I think that it's not possible for one person to do that much to really kind of enforce software quality for an entire team of people. And so what you have to do is kind of look for ways to enable others to kind of maintain their software quality and to kind of reduce the overhead. So I've kind of been experimenting with a few things lately related to sort of trying to get to the point where it's easier and more straightforward to write high quality code with our tools, with our tooling and all that and our infrastructure, than it is to write non-standard coding. That I'm experimenting right now with some stuff related to sort of code generation based on a few kind of standard templates that have kind of emerged as patterns within our solutions. And then we are working right now and kind of releasing this kind of, I think, really cool automated testing tool for the sort of custom integration nodes that eBot offers. It started out as a sort of weekend project that's kind of turned into something that we're going to rely on in our sort of internal code bases. And then if all goes well, we'll see if we can even kind of tool for others that want to build on our platform. So that kind of thing, I think, is kind of the only real way to ensure software quality, like in a long term, because it actually like reduces work rather than just adds another item to a checklist.
Okay, yeah, understood. And you being with the company for how long? Like 4 years almost, or?
4 years, yeah, 4 years.
Wow, amazing. Like, what would you say now? What distinguishes like the eBot 7 solution from regular chatbots, for example?
Well, funny story. I don't honestly have that much experience with other chatbots, but I think so like most of my experience with other chat solutions comes from when we go and integrate with them. So I think I have a very sort of behind the scenes perspective on a lot of this kind of stuff, which, I mean, maybe this stuff translates to stuff that the end user sees, maybe it doesn't. One interesting thing that I see, which is almost a bit of a contradiction or paradox, that's kind of part of how eBot 7 kind of positions our solution, is that we kind of, one of our big appeals is that you don't need to be that technical to onboard with our product. But at the same time, we have like almost what I would call like bare metal customization abilities, where you can go in and kind of apply raw CSS, raw JavaScript, and you can get a really deep level of customization that honestly I don't see a lot of other platforms offer. And I mean, that's a double-edged sword, I suppose, because it does kind of, despite our appeal of having a very low onboarding, threshold, it also means to really, get everything you can out of eBot, you also need a pretty high level of technical competence. So I guess maybe that sort of extensibility is part of, what makes our thing different.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, it would be better off asking someone from like the product team or something.
I will ask that question again, no worries.
Okay.
And my last question actually already, it's as always a fun one, and maybe you also know why I'm asking you that question, because it is...
Are we already wrapping up because of the Squarespace thing I said earlier? Are you like cutting out like 10 questions?
Exactly.
Like, no, he's done.
Exactly, no, no, that's not it.
Right, yeah.
So, Matthew, if you were a Microsoft Office program, which one would you be and why?
Yeah, so I thought about this, and I think and I hate to admit this about myself, I think it's Microsoft Excel. My reasons are as follows. 1, good at math. 2, people rely on it. 3, it tends to make things overcomplicated. And 4, if you just kind of like look underneath at what's going on, it's a bit of a mess. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan for you. Last but not least, I would love to see your face, like a silly face you would make when you just solved a bug, for example.
I don't know.
Are you not happy? Are you happy, confused? Any emotion is welcome.
I think it's probably just a lot of like push back on the laptop and just go like this a lot. I don't know what the face is doing though.
That's very well done. No, I love that one. Thank you so much. Yeah, this was a great interview, Matthew. Thank you. I hope you're not closing it again with like another ad. But apart from that, thank you very much for your insights. It was fun.
Yeah, I realized I won't get any money for the ad, so there's no point.
That's true. And you can also leave that to us in the marketing team,
Right then.
Thank you very much, Matthew. And have a great day. Thank you for the interview.
Of course. See ya.